don't give up and don't take no for an answer. Like, obviously be respectful, but
Mhm.
like, you got to go for it. If that's your dream and that's what you want, go for it.
Welcome to episode number 21. I am joined today by Finise Avery. Finise has worked a diverse array of jobs throughout the film industry through the years. She's an actress. She has worked as a producer, a director, production assistant, and an assistant director, to name a few. And she was actually in a few comedy movies we love, or she worked on a few comedy movies we love, in The Sitter, The Delivery Man, and The Dictator, to name a few. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us today, Finise.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, just jumping right into things. What got you into the industry?
So, I want to say it's mostly luck. I was in boarding school in Switzerland, and I had come back to the States, and I was still a minor. And like every good story, my parents had a connection with someone that worked in TV and film in Boston, and I ended up working a day on set. And I feel like that was where it all started. And then I hit the ground running. And I just continued to like push my parents to like get me involved in as much. And at that point, being a minor, obviously you needed your parents' support,
Mhm.
and all that. And I started acting roles. I got bumped up on that job, got my SAG card, and then it just opened up everything.
Right on. And this was around high school age?
Yeah, so I'm 34 now.
Uh-huh.
This was, I would say, I was 15 years old. I became SAG eligible shortly after that job. And then I didn't join SAG until like 2 years later, or a year and a
Mhm.
half later.
So you started as an actress?
Yeah, so I started acting and I was continuing to do auditions. And at that time, you actually went and auditioned. It wasn't video.
Right.
I feel like now resources are so much easier to get in and to get those opportunities.
Yeah.
But also like everything has changed. I think there is a vastly great bit about doing video auditions. I'm not knocking that at
Mhm.
all.
Totally.
But technology has changed that world. And then I went from acting, I became a stand-in. I did photo doubling.
Mhm.
Um, and then I went and became a PA. And I was like, you know what? I want to become an assistant director. I started ADing. And then obviously, as we know, pandemic happens.
Right.
COVID happens. The strike happens. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? How do I stay creative and, pay my bills and everything else? I ended up, creating my short film, directing, living with grandma.
Mhm.
And I think that's really what opened the door to keep me positive and like keep me going. I mean, currently I'm working in accounting just on another TV show, Only Murders in the Building. But, that's just so that I have time and can continue to write and hopefully, keep moving and direct my next short that's I'm working on now.
Right on. Yeah, no, that's quite the journey you've been on. Yeah, what would you say was your first breakthrough moment?
So it's funny that I would say that my first breakthrough moment hasn't happened yet. I'm going to be
Okay.
honest. I'm saying that as like I want to be optimistic that something amazing
Yeah,
is going to
totally.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that I had lots of victories, right? Like
Mhm.
for me, I'm blessed, but I joined the DGA. That was a big milestone for me. I
Mhm.
put in 600 days working on set, and I don't know if you're familiar with the process, but to become an assistant director, you have to do 600 working days as a PA.
Okay. No, I was not familiar.
So that's like a lot of grunt work, a lot of
Yeah.
grabbing coffees to wrangling 200 to 300 background, So I think those are milestones. Those are big like accomplishments that I'm happy about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, would you mind sharing a bit more about your PA days and just going a little bit more in depth on like the specifics of your journey?
Yeah, of course. So my first PA job was on Drunk Guy High Girl. and that was I don't know if you, I don't even know if it came out. Let's just put it there.
Okay.
But it was with Jordan Rock, Chris Rock's brother,
Oh, okay.
comedy. It was fantastic. So I will say, working on any comedy job, right? Whether it's TV, film, whatever it is, the set, the experience is very uplifting.
Hmm.
Now, being a PA, you get coffee. You could be, like I said, wrangling background. You could be on the sidewalk in New York City telling people, hey, no, 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 you can't walk. Stop.
Hmm.
We're shooting. And they're like, no, I don't care. This is New York.
Yeah.
Like, get out of my way. You'll have Radio Man. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's iconic, coming in on his bike with his little radio in the back.
Okay.
And, you have these moments, right? I'm not going to lie. There's times where I like wanted to go to the bathroom and cry. You're like freezing cold,
Uh-huh.
or you're just hot and dying out in the street for like 14 hours.
Right.
COVID obviously did change a lot of the environment working as a PA. I think now it's a little bit easier. People aren't as mean per se.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying anyone was like terrible to me. No, I had like a fantastic experience. I was extremely lucky. I
Mhm.
worked with fantastic people that were extremely supportive and helped build me up. And, I have my people, and I think that is something anyone that's starting to PA, knock on doors, talk to people.
Mhm.
I think we had people come on our sets while I was a PA, like handing their resumes or like asking. I had people DM me and like when I was an ED asking me, hey, how do I get a job? And I was like,
Mhm.
listen, it's hard. I know
Yeah.
that. But I will tell anybody, don't give up and don't take no for an answer. Like, obviously be respectful, but
Mhm.
like, you got to go for it. If that's your dream and that's what you want, go for it. Like, send
Mhm.
out resumes, send out cold calls. Like, you know.
Yeah, so when you say that, when you say like send out your resume, send cold calls, like
Mhm.
are you saying to who would you recommend sending these to?
So, okay, so there's like, it depends where you live.
Mhm.
I can only really speak for New York City.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you know that there is a show shooting, I'll use
Mhm.
FBI as an example because they're
Yeah.
everywhere. Law and Order. I would go to that set, go to the honey wagon, the AD office, knock
Mhm.
on the door, and try to like slip it in that way. There's also studios in New York,
Mhm.
Obviously they have gates and they won't let you in, but there's ways.
Mhm.
And then I think a lot of production companies have websites, that
Mhm.
you can look up on there. There is LinkedIn. I personally, even during the strike, did not have a great outcome for LinkedIn. I did
Mhm.
try it.
Okay.
Um, there is a production weekly that you can pay for that tells you all the production shooting. It tells you the information, names, producers, everything else. That is key because then you could go and look them up and reach out that way.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. There's also US. Oh my God, sorry. It's US Productions, I think.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
another one. It's like Production Weekly. It's a little bit more affordable. These websites send out like lists all the shows. They send out for UK, they send out for Vancouver, wherever. I also will say use your network.
Mhm.
Use your friends. If your friend is doing or shooting something, like ask them, like, what show are you on? Who's on it?
Mhm.
I would really utilize your network.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of really great advice because I feel like there are a lot of people that get stuck in this phase, and I think you
Mm-hmm.
definitely provide a lot of great resources, a lot of good information to figuring out just how to even just get your foot in the door.
Yeah, I think a big thing is figuring out what you want to do. I think PA, production assistant,
Mhm.
is the starting point, right? But there's on-set PAs and there's office PAs, there's
Mhm.
construction PAs, there's costume PA. Like
Mhm.
there are several options. Also, like if you're someone that's in a university, for instance, you could do an internship program with a studio. There
Mhm.
is Ryan Murphy has a program where he takes in people, and you can find it on Ryan Murphy's website. Um, there's also Made in New York program. There is the DGA trainee program, which you have to apply for, take an exam. Made in New York, I'm not familiar of how to exactly apply, but those are two big programs,
Hmm.
or even three. I'm not very familiar with the Ryan Murphy. I just worked on a show where we had someone from the program, and basically they put them in each department, and it was fantastic because it allowed them to grow, and for them to figure out where they wanted to be.
Hmm.
And it's the production already agreed to it, so they're gonna do it, right?
Hmm.
So there's lots of programs like that. So again, depending on your state, obviously that does take effect. I know in the Midwest there are productions going, so there might be more options there.
Hmm.
I don't know how it works in LA. They might have a made in New York version. I'm just not familiar.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, that's all good stuff. And I mean, speaking of PAing, you had the opportunity to PA on Nolan's set, correct? It was a PA role, correct?
So I was actually a stand-in
Okay.
on Christopher Nolan Black Knight Rises,
Mm-hmm.
which yeah, it was a wild experience. Very lucky to have that. And just to give a vivid picture of it, it was the scene that they're on the Manhattan Queensboro Bridge, 59th Street.
Hmm.
It's February and it is cold. It's New York
Yeah.
City. It's freezing.
Yeah.
And there was a school bus scene, and all the kids are getting off the school bus, and and there's like shots firing. I think there was like over 900 background that day.
Okay.
And I worked that show for a few days because I was a photo double stand-in for one of the kids that was a main actor.
Uh-huh.
So I got to experience that, which is just so hectic. First of all, so crazy, because you're like, I'm on a blockbuster right now, and there's
Right.
just more money than you could ever fathom happening, and you're just like stunts galore, and
Hmm.
there's so many crew members, and then obviously it's fascinating. You're kind of like in a moment of, you're like just in awe,
Right.
like,
Yeah, I can
how did I
imagine.
end up here? And I think this was part of the turning point for me, where I was like, I want to do more. I want to
Yeah.
be those people. I want to be like on set more,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, definitely. No, no, that sounds like an amazing experience. Sounds very surreal.
Yeah.
And on the theme of comedy,
Mhm.
you've been a stand-in photo double for a few comedy movies that I really
Yeah.
enjoy. The Delivery Man, The Sitter, The Dictator. Could you share your experience from any of these sets that maybe stands out? Any funny stories?
Oh yeah. So I was a photo double stand-in on The Sitter. It was one of my first jobs.
Hmm.
So I was standing in for the girl. I don't remember her name. She has like long brown hair, and I'm obviously at that point in my life, I think I was like 20,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
I might have been like, I was young, right? This is like the start of everything. And she's like 12, maybe. I don't know, maybe she's 14, I don't know, whatever.
Hmm.
And we're driving, so it's the scenes, all the scenes of them driving in the car at night, going over the bridge.
Yeah.
So what would happen is, we're like in the middle of Brooklyn at like
Uh-huh.
2 in the morning, and they're like, run out. And we go to these laundry mats that production would buy, and we would just like swap out our clothes and go back in. And then on another, like, while we're shooting it in our outfits,
Yeah.
the real people like Jonah Hill and the whole family is in the other cars, and they're shooting it, and we're matching it, and then they're doing the stunts where they're bashing the windows and breaking the glass, and we're just sitting there, and we're like, part of us, we're like in the car, and we're like, we're hungry. We have
Yeah.
to go to the bathroom. How many hours? Like, it's like, when you're with your parents and you're on the trip, like, are we there yet?
Yeah. No, I
Like,
know that all too
did
well.
we
Yeah.
did we get it yet? Like, and we just like kind of don't know what's going on because we're just driving in circles. And we
Yeah.
have a walkie in the car, and the director's calling cut, reset. Oh, like, Finise, can you lean to the window so we can see your head? And it's like all these things, and you're like, oh, okay, like lean a little bit this way. And then you go from that set, and then I did the Detour, which you didn't mention, but I love this season 2, the Detour.
Uh-huh.
It was a lot of fun, and we were on a boat, and we're playing it like it's in Cuba, and you're with the crew on this boat in the middle of the ocean in
Yeah.
Staten Island or Long Island, wherever we were. And the thing is about both of these jobs, even the delivery man, all these comic shows, everyone is just happy
Yeah.
because the content is funny. People are
Hmm.
laughing. Sasha Cohen does like ad libs.
Hmm.
And so does Vince Vaughn. They just ad lib and they just
Yeah.
go with it. And the directors are like, yeah, this is great. And like,
Yeah.
versus being on a drama, like I worked the Gilded
Yeah.
Age.
I'm curious about that.
So I was a second AD on the Gilded Age. And it's like period piece and everyone's stiff. you know?
Yeah.
There is a sense of having fun and doing the job. But I think because of the script and the dialogue, the writer, the director, I feel like there is a difference of like, oh, this is more relaxed because it's comedy. Also,
Yeah.
being big network, I will say does play, like financials, I'm sure, deadlines and everything else. But I do think just comedic sets are just like more fun. Also, there's gags always, and the crew has fun with you. Usually, the cast, in my experience, are all upbeat and fun and great. Not to say that dramas are not. I just feel like
Mhm.
the actors tend to be in a mindset of like serious, and if they're a method actor, forget it. Like you just don't talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've only ever been on comedy sets, and I'm curious, like, I know you shared a bit about the differences, but like in between takes, when things are being set up, meal break and whatnot, does that kind of carry over into there too? Would you like, does it feel more tight than a comedy set? Because I'm really curious. I've never experienced anything like this before.
I feel like a lot of variables come into play.
Uh
I
huh.
think the big one is how long you're shooting for.
Okay.
Environmental. Where are you shooting? How are you shooting? You
Yeah.
know, again, New York City. It's cold. Like we're in winter right now. If we're shooting exterior, if I'm on something and we're shooting exteriors and we break for lunch and it's a long day, the crew's probably in their trailers, like or in
Hmm.
their trucks. Like grips are probably sleeping in their trucks. Set
Right.
dressers, props. Whatever the case, camera.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe, right? It's
Yeah.
cold. It's a drama or a comedy. People like if you're working back to back to back and you're doing these long hours and you have to drive home at the end of the night. So that is one variable, right?
Hmm.
But I also find it's all about the higher ups.
Okay.
If the higher ups are, scrunching the crew and like really tight on budget and like putting everyone to work really fast, like it just changed the mood.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if there's
Of course.
not
Yeah.
if there's not like this family experience feeling on set, like everyone
Hmm.
is relaxed, then yes, that's the vibe you're gonna get. You know that as soon as you walk on a set day one. Like if the
Yeah.
director's a yeller, which it happens, like some directors they just yell.
That
Some,
sounds very unpleasant.
it happens. I'm sure people see it on TikTok and like you
Uh-huh.
see it, but I don't think it's anything to do with them. What I do think is they're trying to get their ideas vocalized. And it comes off that they're yelling when they're
Okay.
actually just trying to enunciate and get the idea out there and
Uh huh.
they're stressed. And I do think that that is something. This is a stressful industry.
Yeah.
One way or another. It's stressful. It's deadlines, it's budget, it's money.
Yeah.
And as much as we're kind of taking over by tech companies, the artists in the industry is missing sometimes, like the understanding of it,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So I think that is something that's misunderstood too. So some people get standoffish. It's all about understanding your surroundings, and culture plays a role in this, and all those things.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, before we move topics, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. I always have to ask everyone who's been around him.
Well,
You were on set with Vince?
yes, I played one of the kids, so I stood in.
Yeah. 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 Do you have like any memories of him? I know you said a little bit about him ad libbing, which doesn't surprise me. It seems like a lot of his lines in a lot of movies were ad libbed, but
So, it was a great experience.
uh,
Delivery Man was a funny show. Or
yeah.
sorry, movie, sorry.
Yeah. No.
Um but my experience is it was, we do the scene and I remember he's tall.
Yes, that is what everyone says.
So like,
Yeah.
but there's tall,
Yeah.
and then there's like tall.
He's like 6'6" or something. Yeah.
And so like I'm 5 feet on a good
Yeah.
day, and I'm looking up at him, and I'm like, "Can you hear me down here?"
Yeah.
Like, and I swear, if I saw him on the street, I don't think he'll ever remember our interaction.
Fair.
But it was just for me. I feel like that was the moment I was like, "Whoa!" Like I was just so surprised because I didn't envision that at all.
Right. Yeah. That's so funny. That's like every single person has said that.
Yeah.
So you started your own production company. Could you tell us about when this was, why this was, and what your goal is?
So I started it. Well, the reason I started my production company is because I wanted to be in control of media. Like I
Hmm.
wanted to be in control and create my own jobs.
Yeah.
And the strike happened, and I
Yes.
just was like, I need to create my own content, and I need to do this. Like that's what I need to do to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I we just finished our first short, and
Hmm.
we shot that in June. It was a DGA
Okay.
experimental contract, SAG, SPA contract. So we tried our best, ultra low budget,
Yeah.
little to no money, and
Hmm.
we shot it. And we shot our first short called Living with Grandma. And we are in prep right now for our next one, which is Desperately Seeking Arrangement. And hopefully, I'm hoping that we're going through the film festival circuit and we'll get going. And
Hmm.
I'm going back the way that it all started. Like I'm poaching people. Hey, can I shadow you on set and be your director shadow?
Hmm.
So I do understand how hard it is to poach and do it all. But
Hmm. Right.
like I said in the beginning, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Worst thing that could happen to you, people say no.
Hmm.
And so that's what I'm doing now. I encourage people, send me your script. I'll read them. If I think that I could do it, or if you think I'm a good director, let's collab.
Right.
I'm very open, but I'm really hoping that 2025 is my year and our production company takes off. So
Yeah, right on. No, I think that's all great. I love the taking initiative and really going through and taking that risk. I mean, it's not easy. Uh,
nothing in the film industry I think is ever
yeah,
easy. Choosing arts.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it's if that's what fulfills you, I mean, it's with me too. I mean, yeah, it's kind of my story as well. It's sometimes the things that you want most. I don't know. Maybe everything you want most isn't going to come easy. But yeah, I mean, could you talk about some of the struggles with shooting Living with Grandma? I know you said that you had very limited budget. If you don't mind, I totally understand if you don't want to share, but do you mind sharing what the budget was or the range and maybe how many days the shoot was? And then, yeah, any other challenges that came about?
Sure. So Living with Grandma, it's 14 minutes shooting time.
Mhm.
The script I think was like 21 pages. So we kind
Oh,
of like
wow.
we kind of went
Yeah.
um and I think so our budget was 38,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
So,
solid.
yeah, it is. But also I could talk about the mistakes that I learned, but one thing I will say, so we were SAG, so we paid SAG rates.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then we were DJ signatory, so we paid DGA signatory experimental rates, basically like minimum wage, right?
Okay.
Don't go
Yeah.
telling anybody. Don't no one hate me. I'm sorry. But one big thing that I learned, so location wise, so in my
Mhm.
short, it opens up. So basically, Living with Grandma is based on Louis, who he gambles. He wins the lottery, gambling lottery, and then he loses 400,000 the first hour and becomes broke. And he ends up moving in with his grandma, and in essence, she's saving him, and it's this loving world where you're like, is what's happening? And then they go through all these moments of living with grandma.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the opening, we opened in a funeral
Mhm.
for a church. And I think I didn't plan this out. I thought I was shooting like a TV show and I had all this lovely time and I had all this, I had to fill the church.
Mhm.
We couldn't fill it. We tried our best, but we had to cheat a lot of it with
Mhm.
limited time. We had 3 days. So we shot all that one day and then we shot all the other scenes, right? And I think thinking like a TV show was my mistake.
Okay.
And my shots, I want a lot of it was Steadicam
Mhm.
and I wanted the feeling and everything else, but I
Mhm.
forgot about the editor. And the editor, I you forget some coverage and you forget it's not so much the coverage, I just forgot the transition part.
Yeah, I'm just as guilty of that. I think pretty much everyone is, so don't feel bad.
And then it's like sound. Like I understand sound, but like I had a scene where she had a laugh, but I don't know what happened.
Uh-huh.
And, it's New York City. The cars are blaring and I'm like, "Oh no. It sounded great here. I just like don't know what happened."
Right.
And so, post was interesting, I think color grading, I didn't budget for the post properly. I
Okay.
think we
Yeah.
spent most of our money on our locations, our actors, and I think next time I will definitely also time. Like
Uh-huh.
I think ended up flying out to LA and to sit next to my colorist because he just I just didn't think that what I was explaining was going
Mhm.
through. And I'm like, I want it like what I saw on set in the LUD,
Yeah.
but I don't have the LUD. And they're like, what do you mean you don't have the LUD? I was like, I don't know. That's what it looked like. Just like, and they're like, oh my God, this is awful. And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as someone who's made a couple of movies myself, I mean, I think that those are all super, super common, important things that people need to hear. I mean, yeah, totally. Yeah, you can spend a lot on locations. You can
Locations.
post.
Insurance, that's another thing.
Yeah.
So the church, that was a big thing is that our church wanted a higher insurance.
Okay.
And I forgot about that. I also forgot, or I just didn't know that churches have garbage pickup. Who would have
Mhm.
thought? So like that was a thing. There's all
So,
these like little things that came up, and I was like, wait, what do you mean? What?
oh, like they charged for
Yeah.
garbage pickup. Oh, okay. I have not. I've never run into anything
Oh
like
my
that.
God, New York City.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. So I live in Michigan, so yeah, a lot of these things just don't happen here. But I know like New York and LA, like they know how to get money.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
this is the other thing. You knock on someone's door like, "Hi, I'm shooting a short film. I don't have any money. Can I shoot here?" And they're like, $10,000, and I'm like, no, we're broke. And they're like, well, FBI Law and Order shot here, and that's how much they gave me. And I was like, okay, bye.
Yeah. I mean, here it's like, hey, I'm shooting a movie. A movie? What can I do to help?
Oh, that's amazing. I'll come
Yeah.
out there. I'm
Yeah.
coming.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think that like anywhere besides like New York and LA from what I've heard.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, wild.
I can I don't want to scare you at all, so I can totally cut this next part out if I'm not allowed to say this.
Mhm.
But I did watch Living with Grandma, and I do just want to let you know that I think everything turned out great. Super professional. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be concerned about and I think about anything in that realm. I think
Oh,
it really
thank
came
you.
together great, and it looked great. It sounded great, and as a filmmaker myself, like sound is something that I really key in on, and it was great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you can keep it in. It's fine. We're
Okay,
hoping to
cool.
get into festivals. I mean, that's the goal. So we submitted.
Mhm.
And now my dream for living with grandma is I want it to be like a Seinfeld kind of
Okay.
episodic. That's
Yeah.
kind of what we were going for, and just something that everyone can watch. And it's
Mm.
also my friend helped inspire it, and so Lewis is a real Lewis.
Okay. Yeah.
So I for him I want it to go. It's someone I went to school with and I know since in kindergarten. So
Is this based on a true story?
It's
Wow.
inspired by a true story, yes.
Okay,
Lewis
right on.
won the DraftKings Millionaire Lotto, and he was on the front of the New York Post riding his bike to go to Jersey to gamble.
Wow.
Yeah,
Damn.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So he
That's cool
asked me
though.
to do it. So
Okay,
here
yeah.
we are.
Well, that's I hope everyone is enjoying this podcast. I just wanted to jump in real quick and say if you love comedy movies and miss the R-rated comedy movies of the 2000s, I currently have a comedy movie in post-production that I wrote, directed, and produced titled Hometown Summer. The movie is very much in vein of the 2000 style R-rated comedies and follows the story of three childhood best friends whose plan to attend the same college is thrown for a whirl in a summer filled with drugs, sex, and bad business decisions. The movie is set for release in 2025, and you can follow the movie's progress on Instagram by following @Wolverines Productions, by signing up for our email list at hometownsummer.com, or by subscribing to this YouTube channel. All of these relevant links will be posted in the description along with the pinned comment. I hope you enjoy the rest of this podcast episode. No, I love it. I feel like that's something that we've been missing a lot of is just like real, like genuine, real life storytelling. Um, yeah. Not to ramble too much, but I just saw the movie Presence last night, and I
Oh,
felt like we got a lot of that in that movie, and it was really cool.
that's awesome.
I don't know if you've seen that movie or heard of it or
No. Where is
no.
it?
It just came into theaters.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's a lower budget. I'm trying to think of how I would describe it. I guess like drama horror.
Oh,
It's have you ever heard of the movie Here with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright?
maybe.
Okay, it just came out, but like the whole thing is like that movie was shot. The entire film, 95% of the movie was shot like in one room, and it was shot from one camera angle, and like the story was told
Well,
from like just this room and how it like changed throughout the years and whatnot. And I thought that was really interesting. And this one was different from that, but it was just told from the point of view of the house. So
that's
like
spooky.
yes, well yeah, I mean it is horror, yeah. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I liked it was just new.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of indie films that come out by you?
No.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if like you had like a main theater or something.
We have a very indie friendly theater in my city, but no, we don't really get a ton of movies here. That I mean that movie. So Presence was not like when I say small, I mean I'm not looking at the budget. I don't even know
Hmm.
if it's been released, but like when I say small, I mean it was probably made for like 5 million or something, not like a
Yeah.
100,000. Like this is like a Hollywood's probably studio film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure it'll
yeah,
go on
no,
streaming soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But no, we don't get a ton of movies here. We don't have film tax credits, so people don't really shoot here. We
So we
used to
need
get
to
a ton
change
of
that.
movies.
You should try to advocate.
Yeah, I mean they've been trying. It got taken away like 14 years ago or something, and they said there's kind of just been no plans to bring it back.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so everyone just goes to Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia makes sense because the weather, I think, too.
Yeah,
That's unfortunate. Georgia's stealing everything. They need
yeah.
to bring it back to New York. We got a good tax credit here. Come on. Come back.
Do you? Okay, yeah. Oh,
I think it's 30%.
that sounds good.
I think that's what it is. Don't quote me. Don't quote me. But I know in like Yonkers it's like a little bit higher.
Uh-huh.
Which is I call that upstate. It's not really upstate, but all the people like that watch this, they'll be like, "What?" But yeah, no, I think Jersey just built a bunch of new studios. So they're trying to
I
bring
heard
stuff.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of other upcoming projects, correct? I know you teased one of them. Are
Yeah.
these what are these? Are these more short films, pilots, feature? Could you tell us a
So
little bit more, please?
yeah, so our next short film is going to be Desperately Seeking Arrangement.
Hmm.
Sorry, Desperately Seeking Commitment.
Hmm.
And it's about Sophia, who is a 30-year-old girl, woman who finds herself in these romantic moments that she thinks that they're proceeding, but instead they're not. And she tries to create coincidences, and instead it turns into her in a mediation room for being accused of stalking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it's comedic, so it's like
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
very harmless interactions that she has.
Gotcha.
And then we have another one that we're working on writing now, which is Hidden Facades, which is a drama.
Okay.
And so we will start shooting, hopefully, if everything goes well, start shooting in April, the short, finish it, probably do the same thing, 3, or maybe we might do 5 days this time.
Uh-huh.
Because 3 days was like tough. I don't know.
Yeah, that is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot to ask. You know, and I did ask a lot of favors and begged a lot of people. So,
Yeah, been there, done that.
you know,
Yeah. It's a hustle.
it is. It is. I'm very blessed and lucky that I was able to pull a bunch of people from the show that I currently work on and ask them to help, and they did it for without charging me. So it was fantastic.
That's
in that
awesome.
aspect. Yeah. So
Yeah, so you're referencing Only Murders in the Building, correct?
yes.
Could you tell us about your position there and how long you've been working there, what you're doing there and whatnot?
Sure. So I started on Only Murders season 1. I was a paperwork PA. And that was right after COVID. So we came back from COVID, and that was my job, and that was a very tough job as a paperwork PA. Also, you know, with the new regulations, the masks, everything.
Right.
And then after the strike, there wasn't much jobs in New York last year, and so I had a friend. I called her. I was right before that. I was PAing on America's Sports Story, and I was like on set. Literally what happened, I called her, I'm texting her, and I'm like, I need to get out of it. I can't be a PA anymore as an AD. And she was a payroll clerk, or she's a payroll accountant. And I was like, do you know any starting jobs in accounting payroll? Like, I'll do anything. I just can't be on set anymore in this capacity because I will never move up.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with PAing. Don't get me wrong. But I think I just needed to, like, being right after the strike and going back to PAing after being an AD for it was tough for me.
Yeah, understandable.
Not even just the financial of it, just like the whole bit, like working long hours, not knowing if you're working or not, getting a call late last night. It's like getting canceled last minute. It's like I couldn't do it anymore. Like mentally. And then we were also on that job, they were hiring additional ADs. And I was like, am I ever going to be hired, you know? And I think because I was working as a PA, I wasn't. And then I was like, I got to stop because I have to have, like, self-respect for myself at some point. And nothing wrong for all the people that do that. Obviously, do what you have to do to survive. And so I went in as an accounting clerk, which is also like being a PA. It's an accounting payroll PA.
Yeah.
And I started there. I worked there the whole season, which was season 4. And then season 5 came back, and my boss called me and he's like, do you want to come back as an accounting assistant? And I was like, yeah, I guess there's not any AD jobs. So if you'll take me, gotta pay my rent somehow.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And it is nice because it is like a 9 to 5. So I leave and it does help. And it's a job. Like, I'm there till June. Like, we stopped shooting in June. And, you know, I get to do my short film on the side.
Yeah.
You know, and it's nice. I hope to AD again. Yeah. But really, you know, I want to direct and produce my own stuff. I hope that one of my shorts gets picked up and then I can be on set all the time again, you know. But obviously, you know, this is where I am now.
Yeah. Awesome, yeah. So this is one of my favorite questions that I ask everyone. I feel like there's a lot of negativity out there, and, you know, it's easy to let that compile, but, you know, I like to focus more on positivity and brings us together and optimism. And I'm curious, you've been in the industry for quite a bit now, and I would just like to hear what gives you optimism for the future of the industry, just going off of all of your experiences and where you see things going.
Yeah, sure. My so what I think the industry is going and what I think is it's based on the people. The optimism is in the people.
Hmm.
And I say that as like the sense of community.
Hmm.
And I know there's a lot of buzz talk about AI and everything else, but I really do feel that people can't, like the creative that we create can't be replaced.
Right.
Until I'm like proven wrong, I just don't feel that's it. I don't think it happened yet. Or it can happen, right? And
Hmm.
I'm very optimistic that people are going to gain the tools and be able to incorporate um like this AI in a positive light somehow.
Yeah,
And at least I'm optimistic of that.
me too.
And I think, using it as a tool, as time progresses, technology progresses, right? I do see a big shift in the industry going towards sports. You see that with
Okay, interesting.
Netflix. Netflix getting Super Bowl. What was it? Super Bowl Christmas or like
Oh, the
Christmas? Yeah,
Christmas Day games. Yeah,
yeah. Like that's huge. They got big
yeah,
numbers, so
yeah,
they got a lot of money from that. So I
yeah,
think that maybe that's gonna help. I
yeah.
really don't know what to say right now. Like, we need more jobs, but also I don't think we're gonna have a big boom like we did after COVID.
Hmm.
But I do think that there's gonna be a new opening and a lot more creative coming out. It means I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah, me too. And I think that there's a lot of panic whenever technology advances, but I mean, the industry's been resilient. And, one of my recent guests talked about how he remembered when Toy Story came out, and everyone was saying that, like, actors are going to be done. Like, we don't need actors anymore, and everything's just going to all be CGI and everything. And, like, we pushed through that. And, yeah, I mean, I thought that was a good example. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that people like AI meshing with creativity. I At least that's what the early data says, and I mean, I can't imagine like anyone. I, I mean, like you said, like it's the people. I think
Yeah.
people like people. I
Yeah, of
don't
course.
think like I mean like AI has been making music for I don't know how many years now,
Yeah.
and like you can listen to it, and if no one told you that it was made completely robotically, you might not know, but we still see musical artists, doing their thing and being supported by people. And it's not like, I don't know anyone that's like, oh yeah, like this is my AI playlist. Like I don't, so like that's kind of where it lies with me with,
Yeah.
movies and whatnot. And also, I mean, I just, I mean,
I
it,
You know what
yeah.
I will say
Mm.
that you made me think of with the
Mm.
Toy Story
Yeah.
is that one thing that technology has changed is video walls. Being able to be in a studio, and
Hmm.
I'm drawing a blank of this movie, but they filmed it in a taxi and they used video wall, right? And they
Okay.
shot the whole thing and they were in different cities and stuff. And I think from a cost standpoint, yeah, video wall obviously is like millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
But to be on a stage and able to do that,
Hmm.
right? So you have to integrate the creative idea of like being on a stage using this technology.
Yeah.
But I think, you do all the set dressing in front of it and you could be anywhere, right?
Hmm.
And I do think that that opens doors for more creativity
Yeah.
because what if you don't have the accessibility to be in Paris at the Eiffel Tower?
Right.
Or I don't know, if I can't be in Michigan,
Hmm.
I can, obviously it takes away from, actually shooting in those locations. And I do feel for that. But it saves money in one aspect,
Hmm.
right? But and it also gives people the ability to be creative and create something that they might not have been able to,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
definitely. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, totally. And then wrapping things up with last question that I ask all my guests, your top 5 comedy movies of all time.
oh, okay. So one of my top favorites I mentioned is Seinfeld. So
Yeah.
I think Seinfeld is obviously like a staple.
Uh,
Um, let me think. Oh, Breakfast Club, definitely a big one.
okay, yeah. That's a good
I
classic, John
like
Hughes,
that. It's
yeah.
classic. It's my time period, you know. The Hangover obviously was like a huge phenomenon. Like I think that was
Yes.
like so great. I don't think we have any other movies like that. Obviously, Hangover 1, 2, 3, but
Yeah.
and Bridesmaids kind of like Hangover, but I think Hangover is better. Um,
Yeah. I like both of those a lot. I would, yeah, I mean, like Todd Phillips is my guy, so I got to go
oh,
with Hangover,
so good.
but no, Bridesmaids was great too. Yeah, this is good. I love all 3 of these so far.
And then Clueless, which is
Okay,
a
yeah.
comedy, but it's like, it's fun. And I think Clueless had a comeback. Clueless definitely had a comeback because everyone started dressing like Alicia, from Clueless and stuff like that.
Yeah, I live by uh, University of Michigan, and I know they did Clueless this year was one of the stage plays they did.
See?
Yeah,
Definitely one. And then I think Friends is a classic.
Friends, the TV show.
Yeah, the TV show.
Okay, what about one more movie?
Oh,
Friends is great. I love Jennifer Aniston's phenomenal.
yeah. Pink Panther.
Okay, that
Pink
was
Panther.
Steve Martin, right?
Yes, and I love
Yeah,
Steve Martin. I would have said Only Murders, but I feel like I work on that show, so it's like,
yeah.
Season 1, though, Only Murders, I really liked.
Okay, yeah,
And I read all the scripts, but the season 1's phenomenal. But Pink Panther, classic,
yeah,
again.
yeah. Totally,
And Steve Martin is fantastic. He's hysterical. He's iconic.
definitely, yeah,
It's also funny because I see him in the hallway and I think Pink Panther.
yeah.
And I'm
He a
like,
nice guy.
oh my God. So I will say the cast of Only Murders, beyond being like huge, like we have like the like day players is like top tier.
Uh,
We had Meryl Streep for heaven's sakes.
yeah,
Um, it's so the cast is all fantastic. They're just so down to earth, so nice, and it's like you're just like, wow, I'm working on this show. This is. It doesn't even feel like, oh, I'm a celebrity. You never get that vibe. Everyone, but again,
yeah,
it's comedy, so I feel like comedies are all fun.
yeah. So
It's
yeah,
my thing. That's what I think.
yeah. No, that's really wonderful to hear. I'd love to hear when people are nice off screen as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It was a fun conversation.
of course. Thank you for having me. This was cool. I also don't know how we found each other, so that's great.
IMDb, but yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I
Uh,
guess just send it to me when